Welcome to the Friday 13th YouTube channel, Metalheads. Today you're going to be watching a fantastic interview, the first interview for 2025. Now, I've recently just interviewed the bassist from the band Bonfire from Germany, Ronnie Parker. First of all, I want to thank Ronnie for doing this interview. Thanks, Ronnie. So the band are about to release their new album on Frontier Records called Higher Ground, which is an absolute fantastic album. It's heavy, it's melodic, but it's still pretty much Bonfire. So I'd also like to thank Martina at Frontier Records for setting up this interview. So folks, please share, leave comments, and please subscribe. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the interview. Hi, Ronnie.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man. How you doing, brother?
Good, good. Doing
Good.
good.
So we're talking to Ronnie from Bonfire, folks. Welcome to Friday 13th, my friend. So I'm going to
Rock
ask you
and
some
roll.
warm-up questions first. Basically, as a bass player, what
Yeah.
age did you learn to play the bass, and was that your first instrument?
Actually, no, I started first on guitar. I started at like 5 years old. And I played guitar in bands, and my brother was the bass player. And eventually, he started a tribute band. He started a Bon Jovi tribute band in like 2000 or something, or 1990 something. And he wanted me to play guitar, and I'm like, nah, man, nah, nah, nah. And eventually, the bass player in his band left, and he's like, hey, man, you want to play bass? I'm like, yeah, I guess, why not? I'll try it. It can't be that hard from guitar. So I eventually started learning that. That was like 2005.
Okay, so
So I,
what bands was you in previously then before this? Was you any bands that I may know of? Because I've been, like I said, I've been
yeah,
a journalist for many years.
yeah, I was in a band on Kivel Records from New Jersey called Far Cry. I was also in a band called Tango Down. I was in Seven Witches.
Oh no, Jack Frost, as I call them,
Yeah.
seven bitches.
Seven
Say
Witches.
hello
Yeah.
to Jack for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I was one of the seven bitches. Uh, let's see what I was in a couple other things, but mostly, yeah. And I was in Easy Living also with
Yeah, I know a couple
Hans.
of those bands. I know a couple of those bands. But I mean, when you was in Seven Witches, who was the singer? Was it Wade or was it Alan
It
or
was
Bobby?
Alan when I first started, and we had Johnny Kelly on drums, and then we switched over to Anthony Rigobolto.
Right, because I know Alan. I know his old band Hades, one of old
Yeah,
time friends. They were a great band back in the day.
yeah. I just actually this shirt is from his book. He put out a book, Alan and Frank White. He's a photographer. They put out this book, and it's like the history of New Jersey metal and where it started. And one of the other bands I was in when I played guitar back in the day, in the '80s, is in the book in the second edition, the 1986. So I just saw him and did an interview, and that's where I got the shirt.
So, who was the band who you was playing guitar with?
That band was called Cleavage. That was like really long. That was like 1990 or something.
What style was that?
It was kind of glammy, obnoxious.
So basically, you guys were hanging around in places like Lamar and CBGBs and all that stuff
Ex-
back in the day.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right, then. So guitar was your first choice, then you switched to bass. So as a guitarist, who were your influences back then?
I was really into like Yngwie Malmsteen and all these different, just whatever I heard. Eddie Van Halen, of course, and just anything I heard, I really liked, and I just sat and practiced for hours and hours and hours every day, like 9 hours a day. I'd lock myself. I live in a small house. I grew up in a small house, and there was nowhere for me to even practice. So when it was late at night, I'd go into the bathroom and put the toilet seat down and just sit in there for hours. So eventually, I got to a point where it was just you're just shredding all over the place. You're not really thinking so much more in melody as much as you're thinking technique and all this stuff. And then I went to a party, and I was thinking very highly of my playing, and I'm like, I could rip anybody. And I go to this party, and this guy is just playing sloppy blues, and just totally blew me away. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing, man? Music is so much more than just shredding to shred. It's not
Yeah.
about just shredding. It's about the music and the notes and the tones and the feelings and everything else. So that kind of changed my playing style. And I guess that also made it a lot easier for me to switch to bass because
Okay.
bass doesn't have the same recognition as a shredder, you know?
Well, you can still kind of shred on the bass if you want to. I mean, look at Talisman.
Yeah, but when you do that, it kind of doesn't sound like it could be inappropriate in the song. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it doesn't fit as easily as it does with like guitar. You can shred something quick and it's like, wow, that was pretty cool. But if you do that on the bass, people are like, what the fuck was that?
So, what bass guitar do you play now? What maker bass guitars do you play?
And now I have a Charvel. I play a Charvel San Dimas. I was endorsed by a company called ESH. They're a very cool company, really nice bass. It's like a high-end boutique bass. They had, I think, the only other real endorsee was from Typo Negative, Peter Steele.
Oh yeah.
So that was his type of
So was it
bass.
like a fluorescent like fretboard, like he had the green fluorescent green, or?
Kind of, yeah, but mine wasn't green. It was all black. Everything was black. But it was that type of bass, yeah. And it was really good. I mean, it had a bunch of different pickup options and piezo pickups and also different combinations you can do. Really nice bass. But that endorsement ended, and I picked up this Charvel for like really cheap, like considering what that ESH was like 2 to 3 thousand, and this guitar was like 900 or something. But I just really liked it, and I played it, and I was like, wow. And I also have a Music Man Stingray, if you know anything about basses. So I
Yeah,
had one of those.
I know about Music Man. Yeah.
Yeah, and when we started recording this album, that's what I was using. Actually, I was using the Music Man, and I did maybe like 4 or 5 tracks, and then I bought this Charvel, and I'm like, okay, let me try it on the track. So I did it, and they made me redo all the tracks and use this bass. So then I brought this bass to Germany, and then I bought another one here. So I have one here in the States, and I have one there in Germany.
Okay, so who's your bass influences before we talk about the Bonfire era?
Bass influences, I didn't really have much as because I was really a guitar player. So my whole focus, like even a bunch of songs, like when I first started playing, like, so I'd be jamming with somebody, be like, oh, you know the song? I'm like, oh, yeah, I know it on guitar, but how does the bass go on this? So it's like, it was like kind of a weird switch. So I didn't really have any influences, but I did read an interview with Peter Entwistle. Actually, it was Pete Townsend about John Entwistle.
Right,
And he said that when John Entwistle kind of started, there was no electric bass really. That it didn't really exist. It
right.
just started to come in. So there really was no rules. So that really was my inspiration for playing bass. That is my inspiration, that like I there's no real rule. So okay, what the rule was made up in 1972 or 1965, or there's no rule basically. So I feel comfortable that I know as long as I'm getting the feeling across, I'm adding some dynamics and different tensions in certain places and keeping the song. It's all about feeding the song for me, and that's kind of my inspiration.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the Bonfire era. When you look back at the early Bonfire albums, do you have a favorite and why?
Do I have a what?
A favorite Bonfire album and why?
Well, probably Fireworks, of course. I mean, I think that's kind of everybody's favorite
Yeah.
Bonfire record. It's really just a killer record. It's really awesome. The funny thing is that when I first got involved with Hans and Easy Living, I knew he was in Bonfire, but I had never really heard Bonfire. I mean, I did now after I knew the band. Then okay, oh yeah, I had heard this song. I knew this song, like Fantasy. I had heard Fantasy prior to actually knowing who Bonfire was. And when I went to Easy Living, I really didn't know Bonfire, so I didn't really understand what I was getting into, which was in a way it was a pleasant surprise because it was much bigger than I thought it was going to be, which was really cool. But to just listen to these old tracks and what they accomplished is just amazing. And also the curcumin stuff.
Yeah.
There's really some really cool curcumin stuff,
I've
man.
never really heard their albums. We're going to have to check them out. Other than like 3 albums in a single and EP. So I'm going to have to check those out.
Yeah, definitely check them out.
Are they
They have,
similar to Bonfire or completely different?
it's actually, I think you'll understand a lot more what direction Bonfire is in now if you listen to curcumin.
Yeah.
It was kind of heavier, and then it went more softer, I guess, because 1986 was the peak of Poison and all this stuff, and they made them change their name to be more popular and easier to remember because Curcumin just wasn't really a good name.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they went a little bit more in a softer direction, you know, Sleeping All Alone and that type of stuff, because that was the era and that was the type.
But it
But
was
if you listen to the
successful,
older
wasn't it? It was
stuff,
successful, wasn't it? The Bonfire Works album. It got a lot of airplay and some MTV
yeah,
videos.
yeah, that was their big record. And if you listen back to the old stuff, you can hear it's a little bit more heavy, a little bit more edgy, a little bit more like Leonard Skinner actually type direction,
Yeah.
which is weird. So you can see how, like, with Hans taking back over the majority of the writing and how it's going back more in a heavier direction, and his influence is pushing it. He wants to be heavier. He loved when they were on tour with Judas Priest, you
I
know.
saw them on
And,
that tour.
yeah, and
Ram
he
It
was
Down
one of the
tour.
main. Yeah, he was one of the main writers back then, and still, you know, Ready for Reaction and all these things. So he still has that, and he's pushing that more into it, and that's kind of why we're growing in that direction, and that more Judas Priesty, but still keeping all the main points of Bonfire, which were those big hooks and catchy rhythms and catchy vocals, you know, the choruses that you can sing along to and stuff. So we still try to keep that, but just it's going just a little bit more power, a little bit more.
Yeah, I remember seeing them on the Judas Priest tour, and originally it was supposed to be Cinderella. Thank God they didn't do the tour because it would have been a disaster for them.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely want the right band. Bonfire were definitely the right support act.
yeah. It was, and it was really successful for Bonfire. I mean, still to this day, people come up to us, and you know, not me, but Hans, and wow, man, I saw you on the ZZ Top's tour. I saw you on the Judas Priest tour. Like those tours really still even carry us to this day. Like, you know, Bonfire. You know, so they really kicked ass back then.
All right, and so which album did you actually was your first album? Was it Glorious or Bite the Bullet?
Glorious.
Glorious. So how did you get in the band? I mean, they must have auditioned loads of bass players.
No, actually, we were. I was working in Tango Down, and David Reese was the singer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then Dave's like, you know, hey man, I want to put together another solo record. Everybody says, yeah, yeah, I'll help you out. I'm like, don't worry, man, I'll help you. And we did it, and I got Jack Frost involved. I got other people involved, and he had his people. And I put together a band for him. I became like his I don't know what you call it, music director or something. So I got all the members for a band, and I set up the shows. I got his merchandise. I started helping him with interviews and all kinds of things. And he's like, man, you helped me so much. The next call I get, I'm going to bring you with me. I said, okay, cool, man. Next call he got was from Hans for this band, Easy Living. I guess Hans called Michael Voss, and
Oh yeah,
Voss,
from there, Mad Max.
yeah, and also he did the combo thing with Klaus in the beginning when Klaus first left Bonfire, um, and yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how it all comes together. You know.
Wow. So you became the bass player. I mean, was it difficult for you to learn their songs, or was it quite easy at the beginning?
No, no, it was really cool. I mean, we as soon as we did it, you know, I we got the call from Hans to go do Easy Living, and we recorded an album, and then we went over there and we toured for a year. We did like 3 batches of like 3 weeks or something, you know, like 20 shows, just bam, 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 3 times in the year.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, we started to get management. The shows were going okay. It was me, Paul Morris. He was a keyboard player in Rainbow and a couple other things. Harry Reichman, he was the drummer for Bonfire at the time. Hans, me, and David Reese.
Right.
And we did that tour, and we did everything. And we started to get management, and then all of a sudden, Klaus was leaving Bonfire. Something happened with Klaus and Hans, and they spoke and talked and whatever. They made some kind of a deal, and Hans bought out Klaus, and then we became. Hans talked to the band or whatever and wanted to just replace everybody. Basically, took the whole band except for Paul and added Frank. And it was me, Dave, Hans, Harry, and Frank. And
Right.
then 2015 Glorious.
So, what's your favorite albums that you've done with Bonfire that you've recorded,
This one.
other than the new one?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody always says the new album's the best,
Yeah.
but really, this one is another level. Actually, we started to grow and we started to become into a thing because at least even though we did do a lead singer change.
Yeah, I know they did
um
that video, didn't you? And there was some sort of
yeah,
dispute with the being a song about the war or some stuff.
yeah. But the good thing is that the main writers, which were me, Hans, and Frank, still maintained.
Right.
So the only additions really were Fabio and DYAN, and they both had really excellent input. Fabio had great input on the drums. DYAN had great input with the melody lines. Because I kind of worked with those. We worked on them together.
Right.
So because I do the lyrics, and just the combination, really, this was the best one yet,
All
I
right
think.
then. So
Yeah.
so Diane, where did you find him? Obviously, we know Fabio with Enforce and his main bands at Annihilator.
Yeah, I mean Fabio actually we got from Alessandro Del Vecchio.
Yeah,
We
the keyboard player that was Frontiers. There was a
yes,
lot of Frontiers productions.
yeah, and we've done a lot of work with Alessandro and also Glorious. We recorded, and he also was co-producer, I believe, on Glorious. And then we just always worked with him on every album, doing backing. He just does backing vocals. He's on this album as well.
Is it? I was going to say to you, who produced this new album because I've got no information who produced it. So no, thanks for telling me.
Yeah, Hans actually produced the album. Hans was the
Right,
producer, and Alessandro just put backing vocals.
right,
And he's been doing that since after Gloria. So since Bite the Bullet, he's been doing backing vocals.
right.
We do our backing vocals, and then he does his own set of backing vocals, and we put them together, and it
Right.
just makes this huge, this huge thing. So and it's really cool. We love working with him, and we have a great thing. But when we changed drummers from Timmy Brideband, we had spoke with Alessandro because we're in the process of doing another album again, and he recommended at that time he recommended Andre Hilgers. So and everything went really great with Andre. Andre's a great guy, great player. But when Andre left the band, of course we talked to Alessandro again. He said, "Oh, Fabio." So that's how we got Fabio. And then with DYAN, we actually played some shows in Greece, and DYAN was the guitar player in one of the support bands.
Which one?
I can't remember the name of the support band, but he was the guitar player
I
in this
probably
band.
know them.
Maybe from Greece, and they opened up for us. And then when Alex left, he sent an email, and we're like, okay, yeah, well, if you have something, send us a video. Let's see. And at this point, we're thinking about, holy fuck, what? I'm sorry if I'm cursing too much. We're like, what are we gonna do, man? We actually had recorded the remakes, and the reason we did that in the first place was because that we had no rights to the songs. So we were in the process of trying to make a Bonfire documentary, and in order to put those songs and stuff in there, we couldn't put those songs because we don't have the rights to them. So we had to re-record them. So that's basically why we did that. And then we figured, oh, well, sound technology has advanced so much further now. You know, let's just redo the records, get the rights back. We could put them in there. And then, next year we'll make a new album. So that's kind of what we did. But Alex had left. And then we got a new singer who had to sing those 3 albums in 2 weeks. In
Wow.
14 days, he sang the complete 3 records, which is insane. We were
Awesome.
doing it every day, all day long. He was doing like 4 or 5 songs a day. It was crazy. We were really like pushing like mad. And here he is, totally new to this. His band was never at like such a level where he's flying to do something or really, big stuff or anything like that. And the whole recording process, the way we were doing it, So it was, we did most of the vocals at Hans's house, actually. And he's a couple of blocks from the studio. And the studio, and we've been friends, and we've recorded, I think, like every album that we've done since Bite the Bullet has been recorded there at Flatliners in Ingolstadt. And so he helped build Hans's studio, and they built the studio together, and we did all the stuff there. And we still do some stuff there now, actually, with this album as well. So we did both places. We did Hans's house and Flatliners.
Okay, great. So the album title, Higher Ground. Who came up with the title?
That was me, actually. We were. It's basically, the way the world is right now. I think we can all use to be saved, and some kind of just stop all the madness that's going on. Just go back to normal. Everything just, So that's the reason for Higher Ground. We're looking for higher ground.
Did you have any
Searching
other
for.
titles? Any other titles at all?
No, that was the only title. We basically, thinking every once in a while something like that happens, and something comes in like, oh, that's it. Like, you'll be having a conversation, and I remember that it was the same way with Bite the Bullet. Things were in turmoil, and I was walking to the store, and Hans calls me. I remember this because I was staying at the hotel, and I'm walking to the store, and I was going to pick up his bicycle or something, and something else happened, and he's like, "Man, that's it. I'm gonna fucking kill him. This is crazy." I'm like, Hans, look, just relax, man. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet. And we were both like, "That's it. That's the title." you know. So yeah, that's the way it kind of usually it works. And Higher Ground was just the mentality kind of the world is just in such chaos right now, and everybody's unsure what's going on. There's so much fear and division and everything else that we can all use to be saved. So.
Okay, I mean, I've been listening to the album. I've just reviewed it for you. I'm going to put it online later today and I'll send you the link. But it's a very heavy album, but it's still got the old classic Bonfire vibe. I mean, I guess having Fabio being in an Annihilate is going to bring a lot of double bass drumming in there and kick all your asses being the youngest guy in the band. Is that the sort of thing that happened?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, every drummer that we had in the band was really good. Andre's great, Timmy was great, Frank, Harry was great. All the past guys, everybody was really, really good drummers. But Fabio just added this. I don't know what it is in his playing, but he just adds an extra bit of power and a little bit of filling that little bit of space with something tasty. Actually, and his playing was really good on this and really helped bring everything to life. I think that he definitely contributed a lot to the power and the technicalness on the album.
Yeah, like I say, Annihilator are quite a technical, so he's going to bring that ability over to you guys, and he's going to bring it over a little bit.
Yeah, and we all, Frank also kind of has that, and I kind of had that a little bit as well. So, things just it easily just clicked right away that we right there with him, And there was some points where Hans was like a little bit like, "Hey man, we're not rushed. This you can't go that far. Like we got this really weird, strange break in there, So he's like, no, come on."
No, I'll give the album 4.5 out of 5 anyway, Ronnie. So I'll send you the link later on.
Great. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really cool album. It's definitely much heavier than previous Bonfire records, but at the same time, it's a little more flowing. It's a lot more catchy. I mean, there's hooks for days all over this record. Everywhere you go, there's something you can sing along to, And even some of the heaviest songs, like Hell or High Water. I mean, I love that song now. Actually, that was in the beginning when we were doing it. I'm like, this for Bonfire? What the hell are we doing, man? But then as it came together, it's a fucking great song. It's just a good song. It doesn't matter who does it. If this song didn't exist, I think it would be a shame, actually.
do you think the old Bonfire fans still like this sort of stuff? Do they like it? Or they kind of turn their backs on Bonfire because they've gone on a heavy approach?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, there's definitely, sorry about that.
Okay.
The people are definitely into heavy music, you know, and bands should be able to grow. And I'm getting so like, I don't know, not weirded out, but like, come on, man. I get Klaus was a great singer. He's a great frontman, great guy. They wrote great songs, but he's been out of the band like 10 years now. And a band deserves to grow.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do? You're supposed to just you have one singer in every band, because then half the bands in the world wouldn't exist. Iron Maiden wouldn't exist. Van Halen wouldn't have existed. Black Sabbath wouldn't. Judas Priest. Everybody. The first singer wasn't the guy that always lasted through, and sometimes not the most popular guy. But for some reason, you know, people just can't get past an album that was what 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And this guy is the guy. If he's not singing, I can't listen to it. Put it away. Stop it now. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Grow up. You know, people need to grow. And it's the same with all the bands. Queensryche, they did the same thing. Come on. People die, people get married, people get changed. Could you imagine if your kid, he grows up, or he becomes, you know, he was at 5. You have to stay at 5 years old. If you get to 9, I don't want to know you. You can't grow. You have to stay the same child. You know, you're still buying the kid teddy bears and stuff when he's 15.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
So, what's your favorite songs off the new album, then, Ronnie?
Thanks for letting me get that off my chest, by the
way. So, what's your favorite songs?
My favorite songs are "I Die Tonight" is a great song. "Hell or High Water."
The video. I Will Rise.
I Will Rise. Yeah, that's a great, really good song. "Spinning in the Black" is a surprisingly cool song. And I think a lot of people who really delve into albums and get into tracks are going to like that one, because it's kind of different. It's kind of heavy, but not too heavy, but it's kind of commercial, but not too commercial, but it's got a lot of twists in it. So it's kind of like a cool track that you just like, the more you hear it, the more you like it. So it's like, I think that's actually going to be a surpriser.
Right. You've also recorded Rock and Roll Survivor 2024 version. Why?
Good question. No, Hans put out his book, and he really feels like, you know, this
is it in English or German?
It's in what the book is in German, but we just got the English revision done, and so that is going to go into print soon. That there'll be an English version, but there is an English audiobook. I actually did the reading of the English audiobook, but there is an English audiobook.
Okay.
But yeah, this was kind of his. This song was kind of his theme song. You know, wanted it to be really like, you know, he's the survivor. He's been going on and doing this, so he wanted to rework it a little bit and put that song on there. So that's kind of what we did. Like, we changed the verse and little changes to it, but basically the same. And we also felt that Fistful of Fire came out during COVID, so it was like it never really got any legs or any attention. We never played anything live from it. You know, it barely, we had the tour set up and then everything got locked down. So that album just kind of went out and everybody got screwed.
Kind of took a back burner.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's kind of the reason that we threw that song back on there, because he liked that song and he felt like it was some kind of some part of him, you know, that he wanted to put on the record.
Okay, then. So, how long did it take to record this album?
It didn't take that long. I would say maybe max 2 to 3 months, max. Okay. You know, we did do a pre-demo version, like where he sent us stuff and we did stuff, and then we finished the demo version and then actually recorded it. So I think I did bass tracks like actually 2 or 3 times on this record.
Yeah, like you said, you had to switch bass.
Yeah, considering the demos and that I had to also switch bass. Yeah, so maybe I did it like 4 times.
Okay, then. So who did the artwork for the album?
I think Frank Colby at Music Clip, who's done the videos. I believe he did the artwork actually for the record.
Okay, then. So, how did the deal with Frontiers come about? Because your previous label was AFM, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we were with AFM, and things were good, but at some points they weren't giving us enough attention and made some really big mistakes, and we felt it was kind of holding us back a little bit. And the main guy that was there, that was part of, like the leader of our team, basically, you can say, he left the company. So then we're like, we got, Frontiers was interested because after we did the three remakes, when Alessandro heard the vocals, he's like, "Wow, your next record is going to be insane." Um, Frontiers is interested, so we just kind of pushed it off and talked, and eventually it grew to an actual thing, and that's why we did go with Frontiers eventually.
Okay, then. So, I want to thank you for doing this interview. Ronnie, do you have anything to say to the people watching this on YouTube? Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
Nah, it's really a great album. Give music a chance. When bands have new singers or something, don't jump down their throats. Listen to stuff. Be open to new things. Don't always just crush something because it's not what you know. Like, you're the most important person in the world, and you know everything, and what you say is right.
Okay, well, thank you for your interview, Ronnie. Like I say, I will send you the interview. If you could share it on your Facebook page, I'd much appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. It was great talking to you again.
You too, brother. So take care, brother. Thank
Thanks,
you.
man.
Bye, man. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.